Hey Laura, it's Kyle. Hey, after we talked, I got to thinking a little bit about your situation, and it really reminded me of a past client by the name of Janet. And I'll tell you a little bit about her situation because it really mirrors yours. So Janet had two young kids, one of them on the spectrum, and she was feeling a lot of guilt and depression. Guilt for a lot of different reasons. Maybe she wasn't doing what was right for her kids. Maybe she did something to cause it. I mean, there was all these different things that were popping into her head. And she also had a husband who worked a lot. And so she was left alone with her two young kids and found herself saddened quite frequently and depressed. And, after talking to you a little bit, it reminded me so much of her that I wanted to tell you kind of what happened to her and how we were able to bring her out of it and how I think we can help you as well. And that's this. She found that her guilt and her depression and her sadness was affecting her in a way that was limiting her ability to help her kids and serve her kids, especially her child on the spectrum. And after some discussions, she started to realize that when guilt and depression or sadness or anxiousness or fear for their future, any of those things starts to become a more powerful emotion than love for her children, it starts to affect her ability to really serve properly. And I can't remember where we read this, but I know somewhere I read that if you feel guilty or depressed, then you're living in the past. If you feel fearful or anxious, then you're living in the future. But if you're at peace, you're living in the present. And now that you've learned a few strategies, we need to really focus in on using those strategies to put you at peace, number one. And one of the best ways to be at peace is to go serve those kids. What I recommend for you and what I think you need to do is go get down on the floor with your son and play Legos with him. Just spend a lot of time with him doing what he loves. And that will snap you. If you spend some time looking into his eyes and watching him and getting into his world, you're going to find that it's going to take away a lot of those other feelings you have. But certainly the first two strategies in that you've learned now, you've already started to use them and they're effective. So if you feel yourself going into those states of sadness or guilt, use those strategies immediately. Go over there with your son, grab your daughter, pull her in tight, and just the three of you play Legos. Have a great time. Just get down into their world and enjoy those moments and find yourself at peace as you look into those kids' eyes. When you start to, when the depression or anxiety or fear, when it starts to become, those emotions are natural emotions, but when they start to become so powerful that they start to define you, it affects your ability to mother those kids in the way they need to be mothered. They need to see your love and affection. And if you're so wrapped up in your own emotions that you can't give that to them, they're not going to get that from you. And I know you'll do anything for those kids. So do that. Get into their world. If you're feeling saddened or alone, climb into the world of those kids. Lay down on the floor, do a puzzle together, whatever they like to do. Find yourself doing that with them and focus on them and how you can serve them. And I promise you, that's going to bring you out of that, and it's going to make you feel better about your service to them. And I want you to know this. In my humble opinion, there's no more honorable calling in this world than to be in the service of those kids. I think way too many moms fall into this pattern of thinking that they're stuck at home or they can't escape or they're lonely. And I want you to know how important that job is. That's the most important job in the world. You have more ability to impact this world by being a great mother and loving those kids deeply and entirely than you do anywhere out in the marketplace. So value what you do. I value what you do, and those kids need you to be at your best so that you can give them the kind of love they need. Hopefully that's helpful. We're going to talk again later today, I'm sure. So, value what you do, please. Please do that. And I promise you, get in their world. That'll take away some of that worry and that concern and that guilt. That's not healthy for you. Those are unproductive emotions, and you know that. We've talked about that. You need to use those strategies to snap yourself out of those states and put yourself in a state where everything is possible and everything is probable. And if you'll do that, you'll give those kids what they need. Okay, I'll talk to you later. See you then. Bye-bye.